Good morning. This is Robbie Burke at the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, with the 11 o'clock update on Hurricane Griffin. Hurricane Griffin is currently located over the northern Bahamas near Abaco Island and has maximum sustained winds of 120 miles per hour, which makes it a Category 3 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. The storm is currently centered about 120 miles to the north of Nassau in the Bahamas and about 225 miles to the east-southeast of Melbourne, Florida. The storm is currently moving to the northwest at about 10 miles per hour with a central pressure of about 947 millibars. We go ahead and take a look at the forecast track of the storm. Currently located near the northern Bahamas, the storm is being steered by a subtropical ridge across the Atlantic and upper level low across the Straits of Florida that's now moving to the southwest. Based on that pattern change, we do expect that the current motion will turn towards the west over the next 24 hours as the low moves further away from the storm and the ridge builds in to the west. After that, we do expect that the storm will reach the western part of the ridge and begin to make a turn towards the north, bringing it close to the Florida Panhandle in a couple of days. As far as the intensity goes, the storm is a major hurricane. It's over very warm waters to the north of the Bahamas, and we do expect additional intensification is possible before it reaches the east coast of Florida. But regardless, it will be a major hurricane when it reaches the coast. There's a possibility of some weakening as it moves across the Florida Peninsula, but once it emerges back into the Gulf of Mexico, conditions do appear favorable for further intensification, and the storm is likely to strengthen back to a major hurricane as it makes its second landfall along the Florida Panhandle. This is also a current display of the watches and warnings that are in effect. We have a hurricane warning along the east coast of Florida from New Smyrna Beach down to about Ocean Reef, Florida, and that does include the Lake Okeechobee area. And on the west coast of Florida, we have a hurricane warning up from Boca Grande northward to the mouth of the Suwannee River. There is also a hurricane watch north of the Suwannee River and then westward to Destin, Florida along the Florida Panhandle. In addition, we do have other tropical storm warnings surrounding that warning area, which does include the northeast coast of Florida, the southwest coast of Florida, and also a portion of Apalachee Bay in the Florida Panhandle. We go ahead and take a look at the expected impacts from this storm. This is a plot of the wind speed probabilities, specifically the tropical storm force wind speeds. And you can see from this graphic that we do expect a high chance of tropical storm force winds to occur across much of the Florida Peninsula, especially through the central part of the state and then into the Florida Panhandle. But it does look like, based on this forecast, that most of the Florida Peninsula will see some sort of effect from the storm. If we hone in on the hurricane force winds, we can see that essentially based on the latest forecast, it looks as if the hurricane force wind swath will almost bisect the state. We expect the strongest winds right now to occur across the central part of the state, with a lesser chance in the extreme southern part of Florida and then the northeast part of Florida. Once the storm reemerges into the Gulf of Mexico, then the chances of hurricane force winds does then increase along the Florida Panhandle. Other effects we're expecting from the storm is storm surge. On the east coast of Florida, we do expect about 6 to 9 feet of storm surge. This surge could penetrate several miles inland from the shore. It is not just an immediate coastal event. It's kind of a tricky situation because we do also expect a storm surge to occur in Lake Okeechobee. Since the storm track is currently to the north of the lake, we would actually expect the highest surge to occur on the east side of the lake, which is a little bit different than one might expect. In addition, once the storm moves off the west coast of Florida, based on the circulation, we would also expect the strongest or highest surge to occur to the south of where the center moves back over the Gulf of Mexico. And so the highest surge could actually occur just to the south of the track. In addition, Griffin has become a large storm, so we actually do expect copious amounts of rainfall, about 10 to 15 inches across most of the state of Florida, especially the southern and central part of the state. At the National Hurricane Center, this has been the 11 o'clock update on Hurricane Griffin, and I'm Robbie Burke.